Welcome to Forge College. Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're officially pausing our hardcore, hands-on coding for just a minute so we can look at the master blueprint of Solana program templates. Today is all about reflection. We're going to take everything you've learned about template structures so far, spread it out on the drafting table, and figure out your exact next steps.
We've got a tight architectural tour for today. We'll be synthesizing everything from our last lesson into a foolproof framework for your future builds. We'll start by zooming out to the blueprint, map out the modular service model, run through a verification checklist, tackle a practical example with authority checks, set down the rules for safe customization, and finally craft your personal action plan.
But before we start sketching out that blueprint, ask yourself this. What actually happens when you knock down a load-bearing wall in your house without a plan? Well, the roof caves in, right? In Solana development, what happens when you alter a load-bearing line of code without a strategy? Spoiler alert, your program collapses in a hilarious yet totally frustrating pile of serialization errors, and nobody wants to deal with that before their morning coffee.
Section 1. The blueprint. Zooming out. Think about your recent wins. In the previous lesson, you really got your hands dirty customizing templates for common use cases. You added new handlers, you updated those Cargo.toml configs, and you confirmed that your entry point registration actually dispatches correctly. That concrete experience is exactly why we're stopping to synthesize today. We need to make some executive decisions on which template defaults we're going to keep and which ones we can safely replace without bringing the whole scaffold down.
Section 2. The modular service model.
To really understand the template as a service, let's translate it into something pretty much everyone understands: a modular Web 2 style architecture. The way the Solana template maps the standard service architecture is actually incredibly clean. If you know Web 2, your brain is going to click with this instantly. Your entry point, that acts just like your network-facing API surface. The dispatch layer is simply your router, directing traffic. Your handlers are the endpoint implementations where your business logic actually lives. The utility modules are your shared libraries, and your build files are essentially your deployment scripts. Thinking in this model takes the mystery completely out of Solana development.
Section 3. The verification checklist. So, now that we understand the overall architecture, let's look at our inspection workflow for safe renovations. This 5-step process is literally your safety harness. You never just start swinging a hammer wildly at your codebase. First, you plan the absolute smallest possible change. Then, you implement it in a focused feature branch so you don't pollute your main code. Third, you verify locally to catch those annoying compile time errors instantly. Fourth, run your integration checks to validate the runtime dispatch. And lastly, record the results. It creates a compact audit trail that is going to dramatically speed up your debugging later.
Structuring a clear inspection table is absolutely crucial for mapping your specific changes to actual outcomes. For instance, if you change a handler's internal logic, your expected result isn't just a hopeful guess. It's that your unit tests explicitly cover the brand new state transition. Or if you add a new account layout, you have to ensure Borscht deserializes it consistently. That is vital, because misaligned byte arrays will crash your program instantly on-chain. I highly recommend automating these checks. A solid CI matrix running small integration tests will completely reduce your friction.
Section 4. Practical example: authority checks. Let's walk through a real, practical scenario of making a targeted change without breaking the scaffold. Let's say you need to enforce an authority check right before an account update. This is a super common scenario when you're managing user permissions. But where exactly do you draw that into the architecture? Do you shove the code directly into the handler, or do you build a dedicated shared helper function?
Well, the answer depends entirely on your scope. If the policy is narrowly scoped and it's a one-off thing, keep it localized directly inside the handler. You only want to extract it into a shared helper if multiple handlers are going to use that exact same logic. Why? Because keeping your API stable minimizes ripple effects across your entire program. If you change a shared helper, you have to test every single thing that touches it. Localized changes drastically reduce that testing burden on you.
Section 5. Rules for safe customization.
Let's cement the golden rules for keeping your program structure sound. Our core philosophy here is simple. Think in layers so you can choose safe seams. Seriously, keep the default scaffolding that implements your correct serialization patterns and canonical arrow types. Unless your specific use case absolutely demands a completely different approach, you really want to avoid cross-layer refactoring without an explicit test plan. Otherwise, you risk breaking the scaffold's highly reliable patterns.
This brings us to 4 critical safety rules you should literally ink into your brain. 1. Favor localized changes to minimize the blast radius of any bugs. 2. Always pair customization with rigorous explicit testing. 3. Maintain those default dispatch invariants so your program behaves predictably for the client. And 4. Document your decisions. Your future self will absolutely thank you. Following these rules ensures that when we dive into advanced customizations later, you won't accidentally break your core routing.
Section 6. Crafting your action plan.
All right, it's time to put on your hard hat and start drafting your personal roadmap for the next module. But here's the trick. I want you to limit your plan to a maximum of just 3 target customizations. Just 3. Keeping it tight ensures the scope remains completely manageable. It prevents you from getting totally lost in the weeds and ensures you can actually finish what you start with high-quality, fully tested code. So, your personal plan artifact absolutely must explicitly list 4 things for each of those customizations. First, a 1-sentence goal. Second, exactly which files you'll be modifying. Third, the specific tests you're going to add to prove it works. And fourth, a simple rollback strategy if things go completely sideways during integration. Writing this out means your code reviews and CI failures will map directly to actionable follow-ups.
Bring that written action plan to our next lesson, where we'll be reviewing the Solana program template structure in even deeper detail. Your scaffold is mapped out, and your safety rules are set. This explainer was brought to you by Forge College. To learn more about this subject and dive deeper into other incredible Web3 topics, make sure you visit forge.college. So, take a final look at your blueprint and ask yourself, are you ready to build?